Whoa! Wait, how does that work? Static electricity. What do you mean by that? What I've consistently found is that when I see a lot of people doing tricks or experiments with static electricity, they often go, how does this work? Static electricity, and then they don't give you an answer as to how it actually works. So that's what I'm here to provide you with today. How static electricity works in all these sort of experiments. And while doing so, I'll walk you through 3 or 4 pretty cool static electricity experiments. Before we start these experiments, however, I have to give you a little bit of background knowledge as to how all this stuff with static electricity works. To first look at everything around us. Everything around us, all the atoms and molecules, are made out of 3 basic building blocks: protons, neutrons, and electrons. And if you had guessed it, the protons are positive, neutrons are neutral, and electrons are negatively charged. Now, something interesting that's a property from both electrons and protons is that with static electricity, we can make objects that aren't normally like a magnet have magnetic properties, where some things can be positively or negatively charged. A really good example of this is when you're shuffling around and then all of a sudden you grab onto a door handle and then you feel a little zap. That is the transfer of electrons from where you are normally positively charged and the door handle is normally negatively charged. So the electrons make that hop over from the door handle to your hand or vice versa, and that creates a little tiny lightning bolt, which we know as static electricity. Now, this can also be seen in clouds or in thunderstorms, when sometimes clouds can become positively charged or negatively charged, and when they have those little lightning bolts happen in between them, we call that thunder. And when the ground is neutrally charged, as the Earth most of the time is neutral, and the clouds are positively charged, the cloud will then make contact with the ground to then reach equilibrium, where both the cloud and the Earth will then have equal amounts of electrons. For a first test, all you're gonna need is a balloon and a can. Now, I'm assuming you're gonna have either one of these two around you, so I encourage you to follow along. Now, I'm gonna get most of these experiments to work is through a balloon, and it's through friction. When you saw me doing the little experiment earlier when I was rubbing the balloon on the back of my head, it was through the transfer of electrons, where all of a sudden the balloon became positively charged. So check this out.
To get this experiment going, we have to first start off by rubbing the balloon against the back of our head. Then, just like I'm doing in this video, I'll put the balloon right up next to the can, and hopefully it'll start moving. Unfortunately, in this case, we're really only getting the wiggling can, but this is exactly what it's supposed to look like. Unfortunately, because it was humid, it doesn't really work too well. But, you know, that's science. Sometimes things don't always work out exactly the way they're supposed to.
Our next experiment involves more things that you probably have at home: salt, pepper, and a plastic spoon. In this case, instead of using a balloon for our friction device, we're going to be using a plastic spoon. So let's try it out. For our next demonstration, we are going to be doing it on a plate instead of the fabric because I don't want to make a mess. But the whole point of this one is that you are only going to be picking up pepper instead of salt. So let's make a quick combo.
Now we're gonna charge up the spoon really fast.
Oh, there we go. And now there's pepper on the back of the spoon. Our last experiment is with some more stuff that you probably have laying around at home. It involves the balloon once again and some parchment paper. Our goal this time is to make the parchment paper float. So let's try it out.
Sadly, this experiment was almost equally a fail, but it was probably because it was still humid that day. Now, it was almost comical how terrible this experiment went because the parchment paper was almost sticking to the balloon instead of floating above it. But let me know down in the comments if you could get this experiment to work, but this one was not so good.
If you found any of these experiments to be useful or helpful, leave a like and comment down your favorite one down below, and let me know if you want me to do any more in the future. And thank you for watching.